Welcome back to another edition of Baseball for Maniacs. The topic of this episode is going to be Phillies spring training news day one. And I get it. Tomorrow is the first official day, pitchers and catchers report. But I saw the Phillies post on their Instagram page, Christopher Sanchez throwing, Aaron Nola throwing, Stotty taking some ground balls, to where I feel like this is the official day of spring training, to where spring training is fully ready to go. Once the Phillies post on their social media, that's my first day. But like I said, I saw Christopher Sanchez throwing a bullpen, saw Aaron Nola throwing. That makes sense because they're going to be pitching in the WBC. And what a great time to be a baseball fan. The hope is eternal part of spring training. Everyone theoretically has a chance. I get it. The offseason was tough for a lot of fan bases in the sense of the Dodgers improving after their back-to-back World Series champions. I felt that way, but the thing about me is I love the journey. 162. I love pitchers and catchers. I love the spring training games. I love all the intricate details of who's going to win a roster spot. That's why I love the game of baseball, the whole totality of it, to where there's only one winner, right? And it might be the Dodgers, but that doesn't mean 2026 is going to be a complete wash. And you got to realize the Phillies are still one of the best teams in baseball, to where they can give the Dodgers a run for their money. It's going to be very difficult, but let's just watch the show. Let's see what happens, and let's enjoy Phillies baseball because I'm ecstatic for the season. But I got a couple topics I wanted to pinpoint on, like these videos about spring training. I'm going to do daily videos, not every time about spring training, but when Bryce talks to the media, when Bohm talks to the media, like I want to get those kind of like media clips out there to where I react to that. So Dave Dombrowski spoke with the media yesterday. I believe it was over Zoom, him and Topper. They had some comments I kind of just want to go over, basically the news of the day going into the first day of spring training. So they asked Dave Dombrowski about the Nick Castellanos situation, and he said he hopes to have a resolution this week regarding Castellanos. And then the reporter said, well, if he's not traded or released, is he going to report to camp? And he just says, we hope to get it resolved. I'll leave it at that. And everyone knew Nick Castellanos wasn't coming back, basically how 2025 ended, how sour it was. There really wasn't a spot for him, but I saw they brought this up on WIP. Devin Caney talked about it, how bad the Phillies have handled the Nick Castellanos situation. Because here's the thing. Everyone can know you're trying to trade him, but if you actively make that known to the media with your words, it makes it almost impossible for you to get any sort of value for him in a trade. Because if you're telling everyone, hey, we don't want this guy on our team no matter what competent front office would be like, yeah, take a prospect, we'll eat $4 to $5 million. And now you're a couple days before spring training. Nick Castellanos doesn't know where he's going. And I commented, like, this isn't fair to Nick Castellanos. Someone back said to me, I'm sure he'll be fine with his hundreds of $1 million. And I get that sentiment, right? Of course he's going to be fine. He's a millionaire. But you still got to look at the human element. Like, his son goes to school. Like, his family lives somewhere. Like, what are they going to be doing for 6 months out of the year? To where I just think the Phillies, if they knew they were going down the route of releasing him, which is what I think they're going to do in the coming days, why not just get this done 2-3 weeks ago, instead of dragging it out into spring training? Because the reason you don't want him back is for the media outlash, to where they're asking him all these questions about his relationship with Topper, this, that, and the third. But yet you're making it a problem because you were incompetent in your press conference saying, well, we're going to get rid of him immediately. And he didn't say that verbatim, but he literally said, like, he's not coming back to the team. Preston Mattingly said, hey, it's a change of scenery is good for everybody. And I love Preston Mattingly. I think he's going to be the next Phillies GM, but he's had some interesting quotes to where it's like, hey, Preston, maybe don't open up your mouth and say something like that because it doesn't benefit the franchise in any way. Similar to when he said, we don't do opt-outs. Like, if you don't do that, cool. I think that's stupid based on where the trend of free agency is going. But if that's what you believe and that's your philosophy, cool. Don't say that to the media. It benefits absolutely no one, to where, man, this Phillies organization is like, their PR has just been an absolute disaster. But that's kind of the comments he made on Nick Castellanos. I fully expect him to be released in the coming days. He also spoke on Gage Wood. Gage Wood was the Phillies' first-round draft pick in the 2025 draft. We all know him from the college no-hitter, the intensity he has. He's a psychopath in the best way possible, truly meant for Philadelphia Phillies baseball. Now, when he got drafted, a lot of the fans, and myself included, were like, ooh, could he help the bullpen out in the 2025 playoffs? Like, that was wishful thinking. But they picked a lot of like pitchers to where they could be fast risers. Now, based on Dave Dombrowski's comments, he said Gage Wood is going to be a starting pitcher. That's what they view him as until they don't. Like, if he struggles, and obviously then they make the transition to the bullpen. And he talked about last year how Gage Wood only threw 40 innings in college due to an injury he sustained at the start of the year, to where they're going to have to keep that in mind for his development, to where they can't extend him too much because he's not used to throwing the innings, because then he could lead to injury, this, that, and the third. So with all those innings as a starter probably being used up in April, May, and June, I just don't see any world where Gage Wood affects the Phillies in 2026. And I can look at it from two ends of the spectrum. If you're really in a win now mode, you would just transition Gage Wood to a bullpen pitcher and have him ready to go midseason, right? But he is your first round draft pick. Starting pitching depth is the most crucial thing to a big league club, in my opinion, to where you also have to look at the long game, to where if Gage Wood is really good as a starter in 2026, one, he's going to reach his innings limit before he can even effectively help the Phillies in 2026. But then you got a legit starting pitcher for 6-7 years down the line, because here's the thing. We still have to be looking down the line. Of course, we want to win the World Series this year, but you can't just put all your chips in, because then we could end up in a situation where the Phillies were in 2012 to 2019, where we weren't making the playoffs at all. So it's like, I don't know. Like, I kind of want Gage Wood to be in the bullpen going crazy in the playoffs, but I kind of also want to keep that starting pitching depth to where when Wheeler retires, when Nola retires, even though he might be fully cooked anyway, I don't think so. Even year Aaron Nola is a real thing. So I would say I'm with Dave Dombrowski on that. Kind of see what he can do as a starter. If he doesn't work out, move him to the bullpen, and then have him fully ready to go, be able to impact the 2027 Phils, if we have that, due to the impending lockout, which I don't want at all, obviously. And then the third topic I want to bring upon. Rob Thompson said he thinks this team is better than they were at this time last year, so entering spring training. Before I get into if I agree or disagree, what's Rob Thompson going to say? No, I think we're a little bit worse, to where I get it. Sometimes some of the comments from like Dombrowski, Topper, like, they piss off a lot of fans, but you also have to realize from a business aspect, like, you can't just trash the employees that are working for you, a la the players for Rob Thompson. Like, sometimes you have to say some BS, but in a way, I don't necessarily disagree, because let's look at the teams, or the part of the team that is better. The bullpen is clearly better than it was last year. There's no doubt. You have Johan Duran, you have Brad Keller. Last year, Jordan Romano, Joe Ross, Carlos Hernandez, this, that, and the third. We know how the bullpen was. The lineup, I don't know, because it's all dependent on center field if Justin Crawford's better than, well, last year. So it's the start of last year. So it's like, is Justin Crawford better than Max Kepler? Because essentially Max Kepler was a left fielder, Brandon Marsh was a center fielder. They flip-flop positions where Justin's playing center, Brandon Marsh is playing left. Brandon Marsh is already in the lineup. So it's like, is Justin Crawford better than Max Kepler? I think he is. I think he's probably the same defender with a little bit more upside with the bat-to-ball skills. And then is Adolis Garcia better than Nick Castellanos? I think he is. So the lineup, in a sense, might actually be better. And now, if you want to talk about the end of the year, cool. But his comments were he thinks this team is better at this point of the year compared to this point of the year last year. Rotation, maybe, because essentially you're flip-flopping Ranger Suarez and Andrew Painter. I don't know. We're going to have to see. Like, it's a lot of question marks, but what's Rob going to say? He's going to breathe confidence, breathe energy into his young cats, Justin Crawford, Andrew Painter, to where I actually don't disagree with the comments. And if you want to disagree, that's fine. But here's the thing. What else is Rob going to say? He has to support his guys. He has to support the cards that he was dealt by Dave Dombrowski, in the sense of, like, we've talked about it at nauseum of how we feel like the Phillies have handled this offseason terribly, right? But that is done. Now, who's ever in the clubhouse, who's ever managing the team, Rob Thompson, they're going to have to work with what they have. Breathe confidence, breathe energy, because it is still one of the best teams in Major League Baseball. Is it at the level of the Dodgers? I don't think so. Is it even at the level of the Mets? I don't think so. I think it's very close, but you also got to realize the Dodgers are a juggernaut. Like, they're one of the best teams ever. So I don't know, man. You kind of just got to rock with what you have. Like the negative energy, I get it because I really feel like if we got Bo Bichette, we would have been toe to toe with the Dodgers. But that didn't happen to where you have to take what you got. You got a really good baseball club to where get to the playoffs, maybe things are clicking, anything could happen. And then the fourth comment where Dombo and Topper talked about Justin Crawford being the everyday center fielder, how excited they are. Yeah, I mean, we all knew that, right? Like Justin Crawford has done everything he could at the minor league level, to where there's no point of him being down there anymore. It's time to see if his skill is going to translate to the major leagues, because we all know the ground ball rate is high. You had scouts saying that the ground ball rate wasn't even going to translate to AAA. And all Justin Crawford has done is hit at every level to where Topper's like, he just wants Justin Crawford to be himself. And I love that because if he struggles, right, and he's just hitting ground balls, the big league shortstops, big league third baseman, big league second baseman are just picking him up and throwing it to first, and he's batting under 200, then you send him down, then you might have to make an actual swing adjustment. But why would you break something if it isn't broken, right? Or why would you fix something that ain't broke? Whatever the quote is, to where you have to see if he can take his current skill set and can it be successful at the major league level? Because he succeeded at every level to where you're changing something just to change it because you don't think it's going to translate. Let him see to where he's going to get so many at-bats in spring training. He's going to get everyday reps. He's going to play against right-handers. He's going to play against left-handers to start April, May, June, right? Which I think is perfect because you have to see what you have in him. There was no world where Justin Crawford wasn't going to be either the opening day center fielder or the opening day left fielder. We talked about calling him up last year, but it never happened, right? But now, like, you have to see what you have with the young guys because, again, the Phillies don't have unlimited money. You need to have some of the young guys come up, play on a league minimum salary, be effective major leaguers at that league minimum salary to where now you have more money to supplement other areas of the roster. So anyone saying that Justin Crawford shouldn't get unlimited run in center field for at least the first 3 months of the years, you're out of your freaking mind. So, and I get it, like you like Bader over Crawford, but in that situation, I like Bader too. I wish he came back to the team. Bader would have been in center. Crawford would have been in left. I would have had Marsh in right. But no matter what scenario you have it, whatever X factors you have, Justin Crawford was always going to be an everyday player to start the 2026 season. And then the last point of the episode is Dave Dombrowski said the Phillies, the roster's pretty much set, right? But they are looking for starting pitching depth because we know, report came out, I think it was Bob Nightingale, that Zach Wheeler is not going to be ready for opening day. We all kind of knew that, but he's going to be ready very short after. So I would say maybe mid-April, at least May 1st, I think Zach Wheeler's back in the rotation. But currently you have Christopher Sanchez, Jesus Luzardo, Aaron Nola, Andrew Painter, Taijuan Walker. And then who do you really have behind that? Like, obviously, Zach Wheeler's going to come back. But besides that, Gene Cabrera, like, your starting pitching depth in the minor league level is not equipped enough to handle a 162 major league season. So I think they're definitely going to sign a big league pitcher. Obviously, Justin Verlander re-signed with the Tigers. I don't think that was ever a possibility. Similar to him, Zach Gallen, and Max Scherzer, because the starting pitcher we sign, we can't guarantee them a spot in the rotation for the entire year because when Zach Wheeler comes back, that spot's going to be taken up, right? And Zach and Taijuan Walker is going to start the year most likely in the rotation, but he can be a swing man to where Taijuan Walker's already under contract and he hasn't been that good. So I'm not even worried about him. But I got 3 candidates to where I feel like fit that mold to where they're just going to take a big league contract because they're not good enough to demand a guarantee in a starting rotation. My first option is who I would love. Now, I kind of think he'll get an offer to where he'll be able to pitch every day, so I don't think it's really that feasible, but I think it could be depending on how the market shapes up. Jose Quintana, the Philly killer, the guy who started Game 4 of the National League Division Series with the Mets against us 2024. Carved us up. He had a 3.96 ERA in 131 innings for the Milwaukee Brewers. If you pencil him in as your 6th starter, dude, that would be so phenomenal because I don't think he's ever going to start a playoff game for you, just because of how deep our rotation is. But he could be a quality 5th major league starter. I would take Jose Quintana over Taijuan Walker any day of the freaking week. And then if Andrew Painter starts to struggle to where it's like clear that he still needs more time to develop, you send Andrew Painter down, Jose Quintana takes that spot. So he would be my number 1 option for the Phillies to add for starting pitching depth. Number 2 is Walker Buehler. Because Walker Buehler, he struggled mightily with the Red Sox, right? We all know, right? To where we picked him up at the end of the year. But he had a 0.66 ERA in 13.2 innings pitched with the Phillies. Some of it was starting, some of it was bullpen, piggyback, whatever. To where I think he would be a perfect fit in the sense of he has done it before. He can go to the bullpen to where once Wheeler comes back, if everyone's healthy, he just transitions to the bullpen. And then if there's an injury, he can just go right back to starting. It's not going to be unfamiliar territory for Walker Buehler. And with Walker Buehler, out of these 3 guys, because I got one more at the third, I think he is the most upside just based on his pure talent and his resume, to where maybe he just catches lightning in a bottle and he has an incredible 1-year deal that might lead to a 2-3-year deal later down the road. Now, will Walker Buehler get a chance to start year-round with another major league team? I don't know. I don't really think so, to where I feel like he enjoyed his time with the Phillies. Granted, it was short-lived, but and his clubhouse presence. He's a winner. He won with the Dodgers. He's a good baseball veteran. So I would love to bring Walker Buehler back on a 1-year deal. The last guy is Miles Michaelis, and Miles Michaelis sucks. Like, his stuff is awful, but he does eat up innings, to where if he's your 5th, 6th starter, I don't really mind it. 4.84 ERA in 156 innings, to where when you're signing guys to these type of deals, you can't expect them to be quality major leaguers. Like, maybe, like, I think Jose Quintana's pretty good. I think Walker Buehler can be. When we start getting to the Miles Michaelis of starting pitching, you're not paying for quality. You're paying for quantity in the sense of the innings, to where maybe he can catch a few starts. Maybe he can be the Spencer Turnbull of 2024, but he's my third option, to where either way, I think the Phillies need to pick up one of these guys or someone else down the road that's still a free agent. But I think the Phillies are going to address that in the coming days. Aaron Savali just signed with the Athletics. These players are flying off the board because camp starts tomorrow, to where they want to know where they're playing for the next 6-7 months out of the year. But that'll do it for this episode of Baseball for Maniacs. Like I said, tomorrow is the first official day of pitchers and catchers. I'm very excited. Let me know what you guys think based on the topics I said. Gage Wood, Rob Thompson, Justin Crawford, starting pitching depth, whatever, Nick Castellanos. Let me know what you guys think, because I love engaging with you guys as Phillies fans and baseball fans in general. Thanks, and have a good one.